Welcome to Property Ladder, the series that follows first-time property developers as they try to turn bricks and mortar into big cash profits. This week, I'm in the West Midlands to meet Dan Gordon and his partner, Owena Walker. They're investing all of Dan's savings into developing this house in just 4 months. I've made a career out of property developing for the last 7 years, but I've never seen anyone start a project with the amount of money Dan has scraped together.
In terms of actually money that I had to put down, I only had about £1,000.
So you've bought this house with £1,000. That's
basically,
it.
£1,000 and the mortgage.
Well, we spent the £1,000 on the solicitor's fees.
£1,000 went on the initial solicitor's fees and so on. The mortgage I've got is 120% mortgage.
That's pretty impressive.
It's pretty worrying. That's why we can't go over budget.
Exactly why we can't go over budget.
We don't have any money.
Yeah.
And this is the gamble they hope will pay off. A 3-bedroom ex-council house in Coventry that they plan to develop into a desirable family home. So this is it. So how much did you buy it for?
I paid $54,000 for this.
And how much are you planning on spending on it?
Well, we reckon we can get away with spending under £11,000.
Under 11.
The budget's been rising and rising. We started at 6.
Yep.
Fell about laughing for a little while. When we manage to get ourselves together, we reckon under 11.
Under 11.
Hopefully.
You hope.
Hopefully.
And how much do you hope to sell it for?
Well, some of the other houses on down the street have gone for 75.
75.
Excellent. Well, let's see inside. Remember, Dan has spent his £1,000 savings, so he has had to borrow $54,000 to buy the house and £11,000 to do it up. That's a massive £65,000 loan that will hang over this whole development. If his gamble pays off and the house sells for $75,000, he will make a clear £6,000 profit, which is a great return on Dan's original £1,000 investment. And so what's the plan in here?
Lots of work, as you can see.
This small ex-council property is really run down. If Dan and Ro are going to achieve their profit, they need to spend their budget wisely. The house needs central heating, rewiring, a new kitchen, bathroom, and redecoration throughout. Upstairs, there's a double bedroom and a box room at the front, with another double room overlooking the garden. But the major problem is the very small bathroom, which would be likely to put off any potential buyer. Downstairs, there's a good-sized living room which just needs an overhaul, but it's the kitchen which really needs sorting out. It has this outside loo plonked in one corner, taking up a lot of valuable space. Most of the rooms just require redecoration, but there are 2 major problems that Dan and Ro have to solve if they want to get the best price for this property. The first is the tiny bathroom. The biggest difference you could make to this bathroom would be if you either hang the doors so that the hinges are this side and it opens this way, because you'll immediately get this sense of space rather than at the moment trying to get in and out of the bathroom.
Absolutely,
You've kind of got all this, and if it opens against the wall, it would make a really big difference to this room. But the major headache for Dan and Ro is the kitchen. The outside loo eats into the room, leaving barely enough space for the kitchen units. But surprisingly, they want to keep it.
All we can do is brick up the outside and we think the best way is to put a door in here.
I have to say, I think that it would be a really big mistake to have a downstairs cloakroom with a door opening into a kitchen. And it used to not comply with building regulations.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I know now it does, but I mean, it smells. Dan and Ro want to keep the loo because they believe it will appeal to their market and add value to the house. But I feel their plan for a loo opening into the kitchen, along with units jutting into the room, will have the opposite effect. There's no space for a family dining table, and let's face it, a loo in the kitchen will simply put off many buyers. I think this would be a much better option, reshaping the kitchen units to hug the walls and getting rid of the loo altogether. Knocking it out will create this light, airy space, perfect for a dining area. But sometimes you can get too close to a project and just not see the most obvious solution.
I really was hoping to be able to keep a separate downstairs toilet as well. Just the toilet, the bathroom upstairs is fairly small.
It's very small.
If you're really, really, really insistent upon it, I think the only way you could do it is to build a wall here and have come through a door there into kind of hanging up posts.
We had to
Yeah,
consider
we've
that.
got that. We thought of that as well. Yeah.
But I actually think that, especially on your budget,
Yeah.
I actually think that you, A, can't afford to do it, and B, will actually downvalue the kitchen as much by making it smaller as you'll add value by having a cloakroom. So you have it round.
Their decision about this loo could have serious implications on their selling price, and therefore their profit. Protecting your profit is at the heart of property developing, and the best way to do that is to budget your project realistically. Dan and Rowe will spend almost half their budget on new central heating, guttering and rewiring, all essential in a modernised house. They've decided to spend £2,000 on new windows and £2,250 on the kitchen and bathroom. They've allocated £500 for labour, including the specialist removal of this ugly asbestos garage. And finally, £1,000 has been set aside to decorate the entire house and transform the jungle of a garden. It's vital they try and protect their profit, but I'm not sure this budget is the best way to do that.
You've got no contingencies on here.
No.
If anything goes wrong, you've got no fees on here.
Yeah.
True.
And it's so tight anyway. Somehow you've got to get some money off this.
Yeah.
And by hook or by crook, it's got to come off. Is it absolutely necessary to do the windows?
Yes.
Yes, I think so.
It is.
For double glazing, I definitely think so. I don't think you'll be hard pressed to find another house down the street that hasn't got double glazing already.
Usually, I would agree with Dan that installing the right type of windows is an essential part of property developing. But since Dan and Rowe are not being realistic about their budget, they must make cutbacks to protect their profit. And in my opinion, the most obvious is the hefty expense of installing new windows.
Do you not feel the expenditure on windows would actually sort of reflect on the price of the house? If you say it is double glazed, therefore it's a feature, it'll be listed as part of the estate agents, the sheet. Double glazed, central heated.
Yeah,
that's what I kind of think. I go back to
I just think that you're going to end up at 15 here if you're not careful.
No,
and if you do that, you only have to come down a little in your resale price and you haven't got any profit left.
No, that's right.
And it's really important that we protect that profit somehow. Because obviously there's no point in doing it otherwise.
Right.
It's not undoable.
Yeah, it's going to be tight.
It's just going to be such hard work.
Well,
But it would be boring if we had lots to spend.
Rowan knows it's going to be hard, right?
Their lack of contingency really worries me, particularly with such a massive loan and no savings. Because their budget is so tight, they've no option but to do a lot of the work themselves. But they both have demanding jobs. Most of Dan's work is in London and Rowe's often away on business.
Hello?
Which means they are only free to work on the house at weekends. And if that wasn't enough, Dan has never done any DIY in his life. In fact, their whole project may at first seem mad. But actually, I feel that Dan and Rowe are one step ahead of the game, and it's all down to their meticulous research.
We had to buy a house that we knew we could make money on.
Yeah. Fortunate in that Rowe knows this Coventry very well. We did a great deal of research.
We did. We spent a good,
the right area.
I would say 4 months researching, to be honest, looking for the right property.
Finding the right property is the foundation of any profitable venture. To do this, you must consider the location, the market, and of course, the property itself. The hunt should start with finding the right location. The booming West Midlands is attracting a lot of investment. Although Birmingham's redeveloped city centre proved too expensive for Dan, nearby Coventry was full of bargains. Next, you need to decide on your market. Coventry's location and low prices makes it perfect for first-time buyers, particularly young families who work in Birmingham but can't afford to live there. Finally, there's the property itself. Dan and Rowena knew they needed one that would suit that family market and was on for the right price. That meant buying an unmodernised house with 3 bedrooms and a large garden. From all the houses they viewed, they chose this one because they discovered they could sell it for the best possible price.
We did some research on the net as to why house prices in a certain area were more expensive, and there was a lot of documents saying that house prices were significantly, at least 10% more
15-20%,
for the same property because of the school catchment area, which is then when we got our map and actually drew the catchment area
That's
in.
right, we looked at those areas.
Looked at those houses.
I even phoned up the police to find out the crime in that particular area.
We used everything we could.
I don't know the areas at all. I mean, if I was going to go into that, I mean, there's a place called Paradise in Coventry, which apparently, like, if you didn't know it, it sounds nice, but apparently it's like
No, it's
not the best area.
Not the best area.
And you need to find out these things.
Being in the catchment area of a good school is the cherry on the cake. Their 4 months of rigorous research means they've now found the right property in the right place. A great start for any development. But their research hasn't stopped there. Dan and Rowena know their budget is tight and they've got to shop around to get the best value for money. That means getting quotes off just about every builder and tradesman in Coventry.
Doing everything is 2062 each.
We'll have to see, but yeah, okay, fine.
Did you say you do windows as well?
We do, yeah.
Do you want to quote us for the windows while you're here?
Quite can do.
Is there a massive financial difference?
About £30.
Oh, well, let's have an opener, for goodness sake.
Right.
It may be exhausting, but if you want to get the best deal, you have to get at least 2 or 3 quotes for each job.
I don't think that's bad.
So you think that's a good price?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll see what everybody else comes out with.
By shopping around, Dan and Row have saved £3,000. But they still haven't decided what to do about the kitchen, although they're beginning to have second thoughts about that cursed loo.
You're the one that wants the toilet.
I don't see.
Ah,
I don't want the toilet.
I thought you wanted the toilet moved.
No, you do.
But they are now seriously considering my suggestion for the kitchen.
So starting from the washing machine, coming round, filling the wall, but putting the gas hob now actually on that wall there.
Okay.
I'm really sorry to have changed our mind, but
That's all right. I'm used to it, actually. It's not unusual.
we need to save on the central heating.
Yeah, we're definitely saving central.
Whatever we save, we were going to spend in the kitchen to make more effort in the kitchen.
Dan and Row are doing a good job, but I still think spending every penny of the budget is dangerous. They really should be keeping some money aside for unexpected costs.
Who's next?
Asbestos man.
Asbestos man.
Okay, yeah, it's cement asbestos,
Right.
roofing sheets and side panelling to a steel frame.
They have wisely allocated £500 for the safe removal of this asbestos garage, but they haven't budgeted for asbestos in the house.
I did notice that there's Artex to the ceilings.
Oh, it is Artex.
Artex that's pre-78 contains asbestos, so it may be prudent to take a sample for analysis just to find out what it's made
Would
of.
it be possible to do that today?
Yes, we can take a sample because it is licensed work, Artex.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, crikey. Okay.
Asbestos dust can be lethal. Any attempt to remove a ceiling containing it needs to be done professionally.
Doesn't seem to be in here.
We haven't got asbestos, have we?
We've got it in the first one.
This could cost Dan and Row an extra £1,700. But every penny of their budget has already been accounted for. They're only days into their development and they may have already blown it.
Well, we're in trouble now, aren't we?
It's 2 weeks since Dan and Row started developing this Coventry house, and they're now taking it apart in earnest. Luckily, tests for asbestos in the ceiling have come back negative, but the scare has exposed a flaw in their meticulous planning. They haven't allowed for a contingency fund in their £11,000 budget. But they're convinced they won't exceed their budget, even if it means Dan has to get to grips with DIY. something he's never done in his life.
You just get in. Like that. I was shocked.
What's a fight to it?
Have you ever done anything like
Never done anything like this whatsoever. This is.
It's going to be fine.
off your trolley?
No.
possibly
You've got to start
regretting.
somewhere.
And you have never picked up a paintbrush or...
Never.
Not quite exactly picked up a paintbrush. I've seen one. I know what one looks like.
But the only thing I'd say, honey, is please be careful because that's an electrical.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go that low. So basically, wedge. Mind yourself. Are you going to do anything or what?
Their tight budget means Dan and Ro's son Chris, have no choice but to do as much of the work themselves. Every developer should be prepared to get their hands dirty. It's a great way of cutting costs.
Mind your fingers.
By ripping out and dumping as much stuff as you can yourself, you can save hundreds of pounds on labour.
Okay, ready?
It's a good start, but they have another, more ingenious plan to save money. A shopping trip to Calais.
Recently with work, I've been abroad, especially in France,
Oh, right.
and the prices there are unbelievably cheaper.
The tap over here would be like £100. It was £25 there, and
And the
God,
quality
you
is
know,
no different. So we are going to make a list at the weekend of everything we need, cost it up in the UK, and cost it up in France with the added additional expense of a van and petrol. To see if we make a considerable saving. If we make a considerable saving, we'll go.
It's this sort of research that makes me think that Dan and Ro have the potential to be successful property developers.
There you go.
They are constantly searching for the best ways to spend their budget, and they are also keeping a close eye on their target market of a young family. And that means finding out what other properties in the area are selling for and why. A successful developer always keeps their eye on the market. This means constantly checking out similar properties that are for sale in the area. It's the best way to see how the market's performing, helping you to keep realistic about your development budget and your profit. You'll also find out what adds value to a house, and just as importantly, what can reduce a selling price.
I reckon this is might even be
I think it's
possibly slightly smaller.
That's cool. I like that. I might ask them where they got that.
You can pick up design tips along the way, but more importantly, you should talk to the estate agents about the market and what local buyers are looking for.
This is a nice street, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
quiet.
you know what I mean?
House prices have jumped in the area.
That's what I mean. It looks.
That's why people are now selling up.
Dan and Ro want to sell their property to a young family for £75,000, and they're looking to improve their very small bathroom. At least one plumber has suggested they get rid of the bath and just have a shower, but that's not an idea supported by the market.
No bath.
There's no bath in the house.
No.
So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Even though we had such a small space, we thought it was important to have a bath. I think we would
If
have
you're selling it
ourselves.
as a family.
I think if people have got young children, then yes, a bath is perhaps
yeah.
more important.
Can we ask you a question then, actually? Because that's interesting.
I know estate agents come in for a lot of flack, but they are experts on what sells where. It's vital you listen to their valuations for your property. To make a big profit, the total cost of your project must be considerably less than the estate agent's sale price.
Realistically, I would feel you'd be looking in the region of 75,000 for your own property once all the work has been done.
I'd say anywhere between 73 to 75.
I'm just going to do a big smile now.
Good.
So to stay ahead in the developing game, you need to constantly check your market as sale prices regularly change. Find out what sells a house to a particular market. It's important to sell your development as quickly as possible. Listen and learn from estate agents. They really do know the local market, and their valuations are normally pretty reliable. At the moment, it looks like Dan and Ro's estimate for their sale price is bang on, but they will need to deal with the bathroom problem if they're going to get the best possible price. The other crucial challenge is downstairs in the kitchen and their plans to keep the, frankly, intrusive loo. But they've finally decided to go with my suggestion and get rid of the space-wasting toilet and have units hugging the walls.
I think is a vast improvement. You've got a lot more work surface and it looks twice the size of kitchen. And what's nice as well is that you've got a space here that if you do come to sell the house, somebody wants to put a dishwasher in, there's actually space on the end.
Yeah.
That's, a selling point.
Yeah.
Without the wall units, I think
it looks better without the wall units. I think you're right.
What I've done is I've left the shelves where they were. It's a more modern approach.
I do like it a lot.
A new kitchen won't necessarily add any more value to your property, but get the design, the look and the price right, and it will definitely help sell your development faster. Everyone wants a beautiful kitchen like this, but at £30,000, it's out of the range of all but the top-end developments. However, high street chains have been quick to pick up on the minimalist look popular among top kitchen designers. This kitchen cost just £3,500, but it's the attention to detail that makes it look twice the price. The developers use the mixed wood and steel finishes so popular at the moment, yet by using cheaper carcasses they've managed to keep the cost down. The handmade splashback adds that extra touch of design that you normally only see in kitchens at the top end of the market. To get the best kitchen on a budget, you need to keep an eye on the latest styles from the top designers and search out cheaper alternatives. Try to maximise the feeling of space. The new trend for shelves instead of cupboards and units that stand on legs positively help the developer on a budget. Remember, a good finish is very important. Install the thickest work surfaces and best quality handles you can afford. Finally, don't be afraid to mix and match the elements of your kitchen. You can buy the most basic carcass, but spend some extra money on the doors and handles. Dan & Rowe's new design comes in at just over £1,600, including the cooker and fitting. Not only is this cheaper than their original design, the creative use of space will make this kitchen the room that sells the house.
Oh my God! Oh my God! That's ace!
Well, it gives us a bit of room.
That was a really small toilet.
The kitchen may sell this house, but the majority of the money left from Dan's 120% mortgage is going on modernising the house. They've decided to ignore my advice and spend £2,000 on new windows. I still feel they don't have to double glaze the property, but the amount of time and effort they're spending on guttering, wiring and plumbing is a good thing. This rather boring stuff has to be done if the house is to be marketed as fully modernised. It will appeal to a young family who neither have the time nor the money to carry out their own home improvements. In fact, Dan & Rowe have only £500 to spend on finishing touches. The handles, bathroom accessories and other bits and pieces that will add a wow factor to their development. And they've decided that France will be a good bet to save money. Calais has more to offer than just cheap fags and booze. There are 3 large DIY and furniture stores dotted around it. And thanks to the different pricing structures and taxes, you can save a lot of money, but only if you know exactly what you want and how much it costs in the UK.
Does that say £12? As in 12 English pounds? In England, this would be at least £60.
Before you jump on the next train to France, I have to say that not everything is cheaper, and that's why research is so important. However, the range of goods available is huge, and in some cases completely different to the UK. There's a good chance of finding those small items that can add an extra wow factor to your property. For example, these curtain finials are only half the UK price, whilst paint can be a third cheaper. But you could end up out of pocket if you bought everything here.
There's a single stain.
How much are we paying for what we got at the moment?
We're paying for our sink, we're paying £30. Yeah, and that's £64. That's too dear. So no sinks.
Prices aside, one of the biggest problems a developer can face is the technical differences between French and British goods. For example, the electrical systems are different, and not all plumbing fittings are UK friendly, so it's best to get some advice before you go.
Thank you very much.
Lovely. Right.
Right, what else do we need to look at?
Want to look at showers?
Yes, please. Yeah.
The other thing to remember is that you need to include all your travel costs when budgeting your trip.
The more you've got to buy, the more money you're going to save, definitely.
I'm going to come out with loads of shopping trolleys full of
The
stuff.
shopping trolleys full of things.
So, for a successful foreign shop, make a shopping list before you go. You need to know what will be cheaper overseas. Remember the technical differences. If in doubt, check with a builder. Be realistic about your costs and include all transport expenses in your calculations.
Quite like that. Look, that's quite...
Dan and Rose's successful shopping trip, including a shower head, a tap for the kitchen and the bathroom flooring, made them a saving of £155 over British prices. It's another example of their ability to research and keep an eye on their costs, vital as they've borrowed so heavily for their development.
I don't know, Ro.
Oh, now you're talking. Goodness me, there are some tastes.
They may be laughing now, but they're going home to some very bad news that could sink their development. Dan and Ro are 3 months into their development and the shell of the house is almost complete. The suite for their tiny bathroom has now arrived and the kitchen should be going in shortly. Financially and schedule-wise, Dan and Ro are still on target. In fact, everything seems to be going their way. That is, until now.
We're normally quite buoyant, maybe, enthusiastic characters, but we're taking a bit of a blow, really, because we both work within an IT department for the same company. We thought there were problems with the department, but we thought by having such different jobs, one of us would be safe. And we were both put on consultancy for redundancy on the Tuesday.
They won't know about their jobs for another month, but they're now living under the very real threat of redundancy. That's bad news when you've got a 120% mortgage and no savings or contingency fund. It's already too late to cancel any of the contractors, and the fear of the money running out is going to hang over them for the rest of the project.
We have 4 weeks to do what we want to do. Don't know if that's enough time or not. I think we're both tired now. We want to just... It's been very difficult for us. It's a lot more difficult than we thought.
It's now vital Dan and Ro get the very best price for the house. They have to finish it by June, which is one of the best times to sell to a family. They also need to sell it quickly, and that means increasing the sense of space in this small house. One problem has been the tiny bathroom. They could have taken the bath out and had a shower instead, but that would have alienated their target market of young families who expect a bath, no matter how small. Thankfully, their determined research has once again come up trumps.
We did a lot of research on small units, and we found out that the Twyford's range is the smallest size-wise that you can slot together. But we've got one that hasn't got a lever on the side. It's one of these that you push at the top, so that again saved us a bit more space.
Because what you've done here is you've actually chosen things to go into a small room that are in proportion with the room, which is so important. It's like having a small double bedroom and putting a king-size bed in it.
The only thing I'm looking at the moment is the tap that's on the sink
I
at the moment.
love that tap.
It's very nice, but it's huge.
It's very rude.
It's supposed to be a pyramid.
This new ultra-small bathroom suite cost £450, over twice the price of a standard bathroom package, but it is money very well spent. Dan and Ro's original bathroom suite was simply too big for the space it occupied. By rehanging the door and buying the smallest units available, they've achieved their aim and made this tiny room feel bigger. The mirror above the bath completes the illusion of space. Dan and Ro's new bathroom is a success, but the real wow factor of the house is downstairs, in the kitchen.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that fantastic?
It's a bit messy, but...
God, that works, doesn't it?
This is it.
Isn't that
we're
great?
very pleased with the result of it.
Oh, yes.
And we love our windows because we've been working in here and we've taken some photos. It looks like we're at the beach because the sun just comes in. Most of the day, the sun is in here. I mean, it's just a gorgeous kitchen.
Yeah.
The basic kitchen is fantastic, but it's made even better by the quality of the fitting, because the fitter has taken the time and effort to cover up the white edges of the cheap carcasses with veneer. It's this sort of attention to detail that should make the house sell at its asking price as soon as it goes on the market.
This is really what makes the kitchen, isn't it? This breakfast area. It's
Which
just
is-
completely transformed this
So
room.
much more open now.
It has, and the only downside is we've got quarry tiles here all the way right up to that last edge bit. So it means we can't have quarry tiles throughout, which is a real shame.
It is a shame. We've got a bit of concrete
Yes.
there, which means we're going to have to floor it. But
That's
I mean,
okay, we don't mind.
We don't mind.
Do you know what you could do? I just thought you could get some sort of natural carpet, so seagrass along those
Yeah,
lines,
we like that
and
kind of
take it to here, so that you
Well,
had
up to like here.
up to here. So you had the kitchen quarry tiles, and this part is your
It
breakfast
was mean
room.
to ask actually regarding that. I mean, would you think it'd be better just to split it off like that, so you've got two defined areas, or if you
I
keep
like
it
the
as
two
one?
defined areas, but we weren't
If
sure.
you keep it as
were we?
one, maybe you get more impression of space in there. I'm not.
I personally feel that if you have two different floorings, it actually feels bigger, in a sort of funny way, because you've definitely got you've got two rooms, but it's all one
Yeah,
room.
sure.
Outside, the garden is still a mess, but the removal of the ugly asbestos garage should kick-start its rehabilitation. There are all sorts of hidden dangers lurking in the average home, and a developer really needs to know what they're looking for when deciding whether or not to invest in a project. If you discover something too late, it could seriously dent your profits. Asbestos was once all the rage. It now costs developers millions of pounds a year to remove from buildings. However, it's not the only lethal material that can lurk inside a prime development opportunity. Even common plaster dust can be a danger and should never be inhaled. Poisonous lead paint was used up until the 1980s. If it's in a bad way and starting to flake, it can be a real danger to children who may pick at it and swallow it. And many houses still contain lead piping, which should be replaced. If in any doubt, you need to contact a specialist company. There are some costs it's just not worth cutting corners on. The possibility of asbestos inside the house could have scuppered Dan and Rowe's plans. It also showed up their lack of contingency in their budget. Now, with the threat of unemployment hanging over the last month of their project, it's crucial they make as much money as soon as possible from the development. Their original plan was to sell the house at $75,000, giving Dan a pure profit of $6,000, a very healthy return for his original £1,000 savings. But that profit is now being eaten away as the budget creeps over their initial £11,000 estimate.
So far we've spent £11,328.34 precisely.
To the penny.
To the penny.
So what are you upping your budget to now?
I reckon we can do the rest of it. Cross fingers, I mean, depending on how much carpet and
Bit of graft. Well, we've still got to make a
things,
decision on that.
We're reckoning under, well, at worst case, under 12 and a half, I think we can get it.
You've done incredibly well to stick almost to your budget.
I know, we gave ourselves, like I said, we gave ourselves a very wide sort of budget to begin with. Like,
Yeah, but we're also very, we complement each other, whereas Dan will want something and I'll say, no, that's ridiculous, and I'll want something, you'll say, no, that's ridiculous. So between us,
we said ridiculous stuff.
we do manage to get to a reasonably priced option, don't we?
That is one of the great things about developing a property with two people. Because if you were doing it on your own, it would be so easy
the number of
drift
places,
off.
The number of places where I just could say, well, I like
Just get a
it,
man
I like
in,
one
yeah.
of those.
It would be such a shame for Dan and Rowe to lose out on any of their profit. They've done really well on their first development, and it's all because they followed the basic common sense rules of successful developing. Research, research, research. Find the best area to buy in, get as many quotes for goods and services as possible, and above all, know your market. Be as organised as possible, make lists, prioritise work, and start ordering kitchens, windows, and other time-consuming things as soon as you exchange on the property. Keep on top of your budget. You have to be realistic and make sure you list every cost, even if you think it doesn't count, because it does. Work with a partner. It helps to have someone else to share the pressure and give another opinion on how to spend the budget. And last, but possibly most importantly, contingency. Build in that extra fund of cash because things do go wrong. Work can cost more than you think, a supplier might let you down, or you could even lose your job. This is one area where Dan and Ro's meticulous planning has fallen down. They're facing the threat of unemployment. The whole project is very exposed because they never had a proper contingency fund. They're using every spare penny they earn to cover the overspend, and if the worst did happen, they're not even sure if the huge mortgage is covered against unemployment.
I can't remember whether I actually took out. I know there was
Redundancy clause, you mean?
Yeah, I think there might have been there might well be one in the mortgage already. I don't know whether I paid extra for it or not. Probably not, knowing me. Even though I'm not sure, I mean, they could still turn around to you.
It was the riskiest part of the venture, was the mortgage, wasn't it? That was the riskiest part.
We'd do something between us. We'd be all right, yeah, definitely.
Just wouldn't be as comfortable as we were.
No.
The very worst thing that could happen in a situation like this is the money dries up, the mortgage lender wants their money back, and the house is worth less than its purchase price. That's when a gamble like Dan and Rose could get nasty. They could end up on a credit blacklist. That could mean no bank account and mortgages and loans at an exorbitant rate of interest. Not a nice prospect.
I tell you what, I'm going to go and water this thing here, otherwise your mum will kill me.
That's true.
It would be a disaster if their venture collapsed at this late stage. For a happy ending, they now have only weeks to make their house so desirable it sells immediately. After 4 months of hard work, Dan and Ro's Coventry development is almost ready. They always plan to put it on the market in June, as it's one of the best times to sell to their target market of a young family. They now have just over a week to finish the house.
If you could not do a close-up, please, on the bit of cut round the door. It's incredibly unprofessional of you.
The last month has been stressful, and not just because of their looming deadline.
Pass me the scraper then.
The threat of redundancy has been hanging over both of them. They've now been told their jobs are safe, but the fear of the money running out has made them realise just how big a gamble they've taken.
In retrospect, when you look back at it, we were flying by the seat of our pants. I mean, there was a lot of, and we hadn't a care in the world, had we? We'd done so much research on the house and the plan and how do we make money. Our initial, the mortgage for us was, how do we get that money to get started?
Yeah, as long as I could afford to pay them, so I didn't think of anything apart from that.
Yeah.
I think, I suppose it is an awful lot of money, and in future, it's got to be something it has to be something you consider if you can't make the payments.
Yeah. If we were given an open choice, we'd do it with savings, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
We'd use our savings to do it.
Fingers crossed and God willing and all that. I'll actually I will have some savings this time. Whereas I didn't actually have much before, but this time I might actually have some money to put into another one, which will cover me. It will cover my mortgage, whatever happens.
I really hope they come out of this on top. Their research and budgeting has been fantastic, but the costs of the redevelopment have crept up from their initial £11,000 estimate. This threatens their profit. The modernisation finally cost £4,830. And the windows finally ended up at £2,137. The kitchen and bathroom eventually cost £3,133. But the biggest overspend was on labour, £1,755. That's more than 3 times the original estimate. £1,194 on decorating brings the final development budget to £13,049. Over £2,000 more than the original estimate. And that means £2,000 less profit, even if they do get their sale price of £75,000. They now need to protect every penny of that profit, and that means using bought, begged and borrowed furniture to make this house feel like a home.
Come through.
Wow, now this, compared to what it used to look like, is amazing.
It's just a bit of an improvement. We've done a lot of work in here.
We have.
The transformation is now complete, and this once exhausted council house is now a welcoming family home. Upstairs, the cramped bedrooms now feel bright and airy. The use of double beds and furniture adds to the impression of space. They've even managed to get a full-size bed into the box room, proving to any potential buyer that it can be used as a bedroom. The view from the back bedroom has gone from jungle to family-friendly oasis. And the bathroom has undergone the full Cinderella treatment. It now feels twice as big and 100 times more welcoming. Downstairs, the living room feels warm and homely. The sofa and large armchair suggesting just one of the number of potential layouts to a buyer. However, it's the kitchen that's now the focal point of the house. The ugly loo has gone, and in its place is a family dining area that will become the heart of the home. The wall-hugging kitchen area and the different floorings just add to the feeling of space. I have to say, I think whoever buys this house is going to be very lucky.
Very pleased, yeah, thank you.
Well,
Proud of it, aren't we?
We are very proud of it, actually. It's
Rightly so.
very pleased to be selling it. Not that attached, personally, but very proud of it.
Dan and Rowe have created a beautiful home, but to maximise their profit, they now have to sell it as quickly as possible. Even at this late stage, they're doing their research. They're getting as many valuations as possible.
Wow.
This is great.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what have you actually done? Have you is it all been replastered? Or?
It's new windows, new central heating, rewired, new plaster.
Right.
The kitchen's incredible compared to what it was. Absolutely incredible, because it was, when I took it on the market before you bought it, it was like a cave.
And to be able to eat in the kitchen, I know, is something that a lot of people come into the office and say, we want a kitchen that we can eat in.
Dan and Rowe have had to overspend on their budget to get this house ready for the June deadline. It looks like their profit may only be £4,000, and even that relies on them getting their original £75,000 sale price. The estate agent's valuations are now crucial.
Realistically, I'd recommend marketing in the region of 82,950.
I think we ought to be asking somewhere around about 83 and a half.
But realistically, if you look 80 to 85...
Yeah.
Great.
This is fantastic, and the fact that all the agents have given such similar quotes increases the chances of Dan and Rowe getting their new sale price.
Hi, honey, it's me. Minimum 82,500. Maximum 85. It's fab, isn't it? It's fab.
Right, we'll start downstairs.
Having a high valuation is one thing, selling it for that price is another. The viewings start almost immediately.
It's all been totally renovated. Got new central heating, new double glazing. Kitchen's been totally gutted.
That is impressive.
Yeah. It's nice because it's quite small, that it's not full of bits and pieces.
Look at the light.
Lovely idea, isn't it?
Was this already in, or are they doing it all themselves?
They've put it all in themselves since they bought the property.
So it's got virtually everything in there, isn't it?
It has.
Yes.
Put quite a lot of effort into this, haven't they, to refurbish it?
I like this house. I'm really going to get this house.
It's quite big as well down there as well, isn't it?
It's very impressive, isn't it?
It is. It's lovely.
Just plenty of room in
there, really. The bathrooms are fair size as well.
The central heating and the double glazing is definitely at the top of our priority.
The fact you need to do absolutely nothing with it and you can move in there.
Could live in it straight away, to be honest.
I think the price, £85,000 for the things that's been done inside there is wonderful.
I think it's excellent for the size of the rooms and the condition it's in. I think it's a brilliant price.
To get the house like that anywhere else would cost a fortune. So I think it's, with today's prices, it's great.
It's obvious that Dan and Rowe have pitched their development perfectly, but it's the sale price that counts. And they seem to have got that right too.
We've had an offer put on.
Which is our asking price.
Asking price as well. And this was the first lady that came and viewed the house.
The very first lady in.
And, to be up on the market for less than a day.
Less than a day, a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
We haven't even agreed the photos yet.
Yeah. It's very, very pleased indeed. Very happy.
5 months ago, Dan bought this Coventry house for £54,000. The budget started at £11,000, but the overspend, professional fees and loan repayments have pushed that figure up to £17,000. So his total investment in the property is £71,000. It's now sold for £85,000, giving Dan a fantastic £14,000 pure profit on his original £1,000 gamble.
Now, you were hoping to sell it for £75,000, but you're now under offer at considerably more than that. And whilst the market has risen, a considerable amount of that is a premium because you've done a truly fantastic job. Which
Thank you. Yeah,
we're still in shock ourselves, I think.
It's surpassed my initial thoughts of how this house would look.
The main area I feel that you didn't entirely cover was your contingencies, and that's probably the main area where you probably tripped up.
That's right. We didn't really
It never ever occurred to us. We're very confident. I think there's one thing that's kept us going is we're very enthusiastic, we're very confident people, and that never occurred to us at all.
But now, hopefully, I've now got the contingency. If we do go on, I've got a backup.
So what are you going to do with all that lovely money?
First thing is a holiday. First thing's a holiday. Then we'll look and see. I think we've got the bug now.
Dan and Rowe have succeeded with their first development, and their transformation of this rundown house into a perfect family home has convinced me they could make a real career out of this. And thanks to their magnificent profit, they won't have to rely on such a hefty mortgage to do it again. This development could so easily have been a disaster. Financing any project on a 120% mortgage would normally be just asking for trouble. But Dan and Rowe have succeeded because they have followed the basic rules of successful property developing: thorough research and good budgeting. And this, together with a healthy dose of enthusiasm, has given them enough profit to set them up for their next venture.